This is the square logic puzzle, and for those folks who maybe have back issues of the magazines, it's taken from the May 2012 Math and Logic Problems, and that's what we're going to be solving here. Square logic is interesting. You may not be too familiar with this format before if you're doing a lot of Sudoku or Kakuro type puzzles, cross-sums puzzles. But let's really quickly go over the instructions on this one because it's pretty straightforward. Each letter in our grid down below, each letter in the diagram stands for a number from 1 through 25. Using the 8 clues, which we're going to read through, can you deduce the number represented by each letter? As you can read in clue number 2, when all of the numbers have been correctly entered into the diagram, it will be a magic number square, as each number from 1 through 25 is used only once, as you see in clue 1. You will find it helpful to cross out each number as you place it into the diagram. Very helpfully, they have given us this grid, this line with all the numbers 1 through 25, so as we place the numbers into the grid, we can come back up and cross them off. Let's quickly go through the clues that are going to help us solve this particular puzzle. Clue number 1, only the whole numbers from 1 through 25 are used. It's a little repetitive, we already read that, but it's always helpful to get that ingrained in the brain. Each number is used only once, and all 25 numbers are used. Clue number 2, the 5 numbers in each row across, each column down, and each of the 2 diagonals, meaning A through Y, and also U through E, are all going to add up to 65. The 4 corner squares, A, E, U, Y, and the middle M also add up to 65. This is what's meant by a magic square. You've got all of these combinations that are going to add up to 65. The squares C, J, L, S, and U contain numbers greater than 20. Well, that has nothing to do with adding up to 65, but that's another clue that's going to become very, very helpful as we start solving the puzzle. The squares B, H, and Q contain consecutive odd numbers in descending order. A is 1/2 of J, M is 1/3 of L, T is 1/3 of Y, and 1/4 of U. Well, that's a lot of mathematical clues to help us try to solve the puzzle. So, where do we start with all of that? Well, the first 2 clues really don't give us a lot of information as far as placing numbers. But which of these clues can help us get started on trying to figure out combinations? 6 is probably the best place to start. 6 says A is 1/2 of J. Let's move over here to the dry erase area. We have A and we have J. If A is 1 and A is 1/2 of J, J would then have to be 2. If A is 2, J would have to be 4. We can continue with this combination until we exhaust all of the possibilities. 12. If we have A is 12, J would be 24, and that's our maximum because if we go to 13, this would have to be 26, and as we know, we're only using the numbers 1 through 25. So this is our limit here, 12 and 24. Similarly, on clue number 7, M is 1/3 of L. We can make a similar graphic, M and L. If M is 1, L would have to be 3. If M is 2, L would have to be 6, 7, 21, 8, 24. Once again, we've reached our limit. We can't go any higher than that. Those are the only possible combinations that are going to satisfy clues 6 and 7. 8 is where this really gets interesting. There's always that moment in a puzzle, it's that aha moment. And for this one, this is the break in the case. When we solve this particular clue, we're going to have a very good idea of where to go on our grid. Because we're using 3 different letters. We're using T, Y, and U. And we've got plenty of information here. T is 1/3 of Y and 1/4 of U. Let's make a little table over here so that we can better illustrate what this is. We've got T, Y, and U. Those are the letters that we're going to be using. Now T is 1/3 of Y. If T is 1, and that's 1/3 of Y, it's going to make Y 3. And it's 1/4 of U. U would have to be 4. If T is 2, Y is 6, and U is 8. Let's continue with the possible combinations here. We have 3, 9, and 12, and then we have 6, 18, and 24. Let's go back to the board and now examine clue number 4 a little bit closer. The squares J, or C, J, L, S, and U all contain numbers greater than 20. What are the numbers that we have available to us that are greater than 20? Well, there's 5 possible letters, and there are only 5 possible numbers from 1 to 25 that will meet that criteria. They would be 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Now, why is that important? Because we have J matches up with clue number 6. J is going to have to be 22 or 24. So now that we can eliminate from up here all of the combinations except for the ones where J is going to be greater than 20. Similarly, L also has to be greater than 20. We only have 2 combinations here that can possibly work. J21 or J24. Now here's the most important clue that we're going to find that's going to help us place our first number on the grid. Once again, in clue number 4, we know that U is a number that's greater than 20. If we come back over here to our table, the only number that meets that criteria in this column is 24. U has to be greater than 20, eliminating all of these other combinations. We can then place U into our grid, 24. And we can eliminate 24 from up above. As we come back over to L now, L cannot be 24. We've just placed that on the grid. We can eliminate this combination. The only combination left for M and L that puts L over 20 is this one here. L has to be 21. Not only do we get to solve that particular number, but we now also know that M is going to be 7. We can also go back up here now to our first list and eliminate the combination that used 24, leaving only with A and J 22 for J as a number that's going to be greater than 20. Let's go ahead and put J over into our grid. 22. Meaning that A is going to have to be 11. Let's cross off 11 and 22 from our possible combinations. We have now placed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers into our grid, and this seems like a really good place to take a break, kind of clear the mind, and then we'll come back and continue with more of the square logic on this edition of The Puzzle Detective.